sunlight.
Fantastic. Different forms of camouflage. OK, well, I know somebody who doesn't use any camouflage, Robin Crouch.
That's pretty good, isn't it? Seems to spin fairly well. Whoops, over the edge it went. Terrific, a spinning top. Well, that'd be pretty easy to make if you could find some pieces of wood that were round. Actually, they're not as hard to find as you would think. Maybe someone in your family's got a thing called a hole saw, which actually cuts holes out of bits of wood. I got these from someone who was making cupboard handles, and they've already got a hole in them, so it's really easy to make a top out of those. You just put a little axle through the middle. But what if you can't find anything like that and you'd still like to make some tops? It's very, very easy. All you need to do is find some scraps of ordinary wood. Now, here I've got 2 bits of wood that I found that were just offcuts. The only thing that I did really find very important when I was making them is that they couldn't be wonky bits of wood. They had to be nice and straight squares. So if you find a bit that's not a square, you could cut it so that it is using a saw if you were very careful. Now, what I did there was I just drew a line across that piece of wood from one corner to the other. That's called diagonally. I'll do it again on this one just to show you. Here we go. Careful line across from corner to corner and turn it around and do the same in the other direction. Now, where those lines cross, that has to be the centre. And so all you need to do then is to find yourself some doweling and drill a hole in the centre. Well, what sort of doweling do you get? You just go along to the hardware store and pick something that you looks about right. This is about 6mm doweling, I guess. It's not very expensive. You get a heck of a lot of it for a very, very small price. Now, you've got to decide how long you want the axle to be. I think that looks like a pretty good length for an axle. So I'll make a mark there. Now I'm going to use the bench rest instead of a vise, and I'm going to cut that. So I'm going to use a razor saw. You might have a saw at your house. If you're going to use it, make sure an adult knows that you're very careful. Terrific. There's one axle done, and I already did another one a moment ago. Now I need a little bit of sandpaper just to take the burr off the end. Do you see there? There's a little bit of wood chipped away. Doesn't look too tidy and you might get splinters in your fingers, so we can clean that up quite easily by just rubbing it on some sandpaper. Then the only other thing that we've got to do is drill a hole in this piece of wood. So I'll use a rechargeable drill and I'll hold it with my hands, but I wouldn't suggest that you try this because you could slip and hurt yourself. There we are, I've got a hole in the middle. Notice I've got a piece of old wood underneath. That's just in case I go through, and I did then. Look, I made a little hole in the bench, or I would have if I hadn't have had this old piece of scrap. The final thing that I need to do now is to take that little peg and bang it into there. Now, you can either use a hammer or you can just tap it on the bench. There we go. I wonder if this is going to work. I think it might. Look at that. I think we succeeded again. So now you can go and find some scraps of wood and some dowel and you can make yourself some easy spinning tops. What a good idea. Well, before I go, I've got a great joke for you. Do you know what snakes love to have for dinner? You don't know? Hiss fingers.
Hi, if you've ever wondered what sort of creatures go bump in the night, we'll be finding out here at the Healesville Wildlife Sanctuary next on Come On Kids.